Please join me in welcoming Daniella to the stage.
Thank you, everyone, for that. Alrighty, I need to get it together. I was not prepared for that. But first, I would like to say a quote by Maya Angelou. And she says, "I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. And I thought that this would be very important to do this to the room right now. If we can do it really quick, which was to have every person of color to sit on the right side of the room, and to have everyone else who's not of color to sit on the left. It has a very important meaning, and you'll understand why. Okay, so we can go on my right. Alrighty? Every person of color on the right side of the room, and people non-color on the left. You'll see. Now, as we all begin to sit down, I would like everyone on the left side of the room to look over to the right side. This is a representation of how many people are not visible on this earth. And as Martin Luther King would say, if you know right, just do right. So, first I would like to thank HRC for this opportunity, for the platform to share my experience, strength, and hope, as well as building visibility to create affirmative communities all across this country for all LGBTQ youth who are often marginalized in their societies at large and in their communities. So my journey begins when I was placed in New York City's broken foster care system at the age of 18 months old. I was faced with unspeakable physical, sexual, emotional, and mental abuse from the very individuals instructed to keep me safe. It seems like yesterday when I got a spanking from my adopted mom, when she walked in from church, and I was having my own church service. I was in her church suits, and oh my God, I could never forget those shoes, I swear. To me, they were to die for. To her, it was enough to knock me out of. Because my identity as a young child, I was only told to be who I was anatomically, but I knew I was different. In kindergarten, I would go to school, and when they would ask questions, so what undergarments would boys wear and what would females wear, I would often say mines or panties. And then I would go home and get scolded because my mother felt that you should know better to go outside of this home and embarrass this family because you are not a woman. But I know standing on this stage today, I'm nothing but a woman. Growing up facing such abuse mentally conditioned me to believe that that's what love looked like. And I'm sure many of us in this room knows that's not love. Maya Angelou says also, love liberates, it frees us. But oftentimes I felt bound. My life changed forever when I transitioned from the broken home to a boarding school upstate, because around age 14, I progressively attacked my identity. I said, not one more, not another second will I live in someone else's truth. I remember going to school there and I was ridiculed, discriminated against. So many of my peers judged me, not of the content of my character, but because of my gender expression, because of my race. As many of us learned this weekend, intersectionality plays a huge part to what oppression looks like. Now, I know many of you here, and it sounds like it's tragedy, and it sounds like pain, right? But if I lived in pain, how could I ever be free? And so many young people living in this country lives in pain. Some live in privilege. But I've heard in many workshops, many people here have never heard of what white privilege looks like. But I ask, when you wake up, and you walk past the person of color who says, can I have a quarter for something to eat? And you brush your shoulder to them, what privilege is that? Privilege doesn't always have to be about race. When you wake up in a home and there's a young person hungry, when you're able to walk into these conference doors and there's someone right now in the bed dying because they were attacked on the street because of their gender identity or their sexual orientation, you ask me what privilege looks like. But I think all of us sitting in here have a privilege. Also, people like Miss Scales, the teacher aide, who would push me every single day to be the best person that I can be, regardless of what people were saying. She was one of the first people to open the girls' bathroom for me. That was a day I could never forget, because fighting administrators to validate my identity was very tiring. But to let them know that this is who I am unapologetically, I walk out in my truth and not in someone else's. And not because I'm black, not because I'm trans, because I say so, because that's my right to say so. And Miss Lisa, who would always come when she heard I had been attacked by one of my peers. She always extended her support to let me know that this violence I was encountering would not be forever. She told me that if I could learn how to take this pain and turn it into greatness, the world would not be prepared for me because of so much greatness that will come from within me. Then last but not least, it was one of the teachers in my school, and her name is Miss P. At the time, I was just transitioning, and I expressed to her that I was changing my identity, my gender identity, and she had just lost her home. I think I had about $10 in my pocket because at that age, I was doing survival sex work to live, because I didn't have family. I didn't have peer support. I didn't have community support. The only support I had was myself, and I knew I was going to redefine my role. And in saying that is because I gave her $10 when her house burned down. And since that day, she had a hair shop in Mount Vernon, New York, and every girl activity that was in the school, she would make sure I was included. Every year since the year of 2012, I've walked in her hair shows in Mount Vernon. I walk fearless because I know this was a woman who faced pain as well. Yes, she was a cis woman, but she was human. Pain can affect us all differently, but we all can identify with pain at some point. I know life success isn't measured in age alone, but rather by dedication and hard work. It takes finding the right people who will support, encourage, and help you move past the shame and pain of facing so many adversities in life. Discrimination and rejection from society can create many mental and emotional challenges. It was the very people who offered me more than a cup of coffee or nice events to attend that taught me what it feels like to be loved again. It's hard for when so many years growing up, what love is only feels like neglect and abuse. You can learn to show an emotionally broken youth that they can be loved again, or give an organization funding so they can be able to offer more than a slice of pizza to just get numbers. Because that's why I walked away, because my life is more than a slice of pizza. And then the question could be, but what if we donate and the youth aren't coming in and we're not making the numbers, so we need to fund other programs? The youth are not coming into these programs not because they don't care. They're wondering, where's my next meal coming from? They have to make this sacrifice to say, do I go to school or do I not have housing? Because if I go to school, the shelter is not going to give me a bed tonight. So what choice would you make? Having somewhere safe to sleep, or going somewhere so someone can meet their quota and make their numbers? It's something that I love in the great words of a preacher, T.D. Jakes. The miracle is not in what we obtain. The miracle is in the breaking. And I have been broken to life to know that I've seen rock bottom. And moving forward, all I will do is rise. Because if I allow anyone in here to tell me that you are great and don't believe in myself, how great am I? And so I dare you to say to yourself, even on your lowest moment, when you go back and you work with your youth, to just look them in their eyes and let them know that they are great. Because when they woke up this morning, they didn't feel so great sleeping on the street. They didn't feel so great when their mother beat them and told them that being gay is a sin. That doesn't feel great. So allow them to embrace that greatness by supporting them, by embracing them, more than just a donation. They need the love. And most importantly, I continue to live in my truth and break barriers that I once considered unbreakable. I encourage you to build connections with the youth you work countless hours for. I understand you can't save all, but why not start somewhere? One is more than none. And so I say it as my closing remark. if you love me enough to give me this platform, let's make this unimaginable moment for youth across this country their reality. Thank you.